change happened in my life. There was a big milestone, and with it came a work change, a school change, in the sense that I wasn't doing it anymore, and along with that came successes, failures, disappointments, and excitement. So in that whole process, as I'm sure you can imagine, there was a lot of learning, too, that happened along the way. And 3 lessons that I learned over the course of the summer and early fall I'm going to share with you, but they kind of mirror nicely with 3 experiences that happened on my Paris and Rome trip. And since everyone loves seeing travel pictures, I decided instead of showing you pictures of, here's my new office at work, I'm going to show you pictures of something else. So when I was planning to go to Rome and Paris this last summer, we put so much thought into this trip. I was going with my brother, my sister, and my cousin. I'm kind of a planner, which meant that for the 5 full days we were going to be in Paris, I had a 12-page itinerary, everything we were going to hit, the routes to get everywhere, the tickets that we needed to purchase. This was going to be the perfect trip. Trips don't always happen the way that you exactly plan them to be. And so along the way, I learned a few things. First off, let's stop by the Colosseum. Now, this is a 2,000-year-old building, one of the most recognizable sites in the world, and was also the site of some of the most grisly entertainment of all time. But interestingly enough, that was not the most memorable part of my 3 days in Rome. No, in one day we were at the train station, the Termini train station, if any of you have been to Rome, picking up some metro tickets so we could head out to the Mediterranean beach. No problem. Well, you know, nature calls, I need to go use the restroom, so my sister and I go to find a ladies' room. And now, in a lot of the stations in Rome and Paris, you can't just walk into your restroom and everything's there. You put in your €1 coin, which is $1.20, the gates open, they close behind you, and then you can exit. So we put in our coins, we step through the gates, realize we are, shall we say, in the men's restroom. Now, I'm kind of a cheapskate, and both of us were in there, so I'm not going to waste $2.40, right? So we kind of laughed our whole way through using the men's restroom. And you know what? When you have a thin wallet to start off with, a sense of humor is really nice for kind of expanding on the situation and getting you out of there with a little bit of dignity. So we kind of made the best of it. One thing that also happened that I wasn't really expecting was having to be the tour guide for my entire family. Now, for the 4 of us that were there, I was the youngest, and if any of you have had older siblings, you kind of know you're supposed to follow along and go where they say to go, carry the things that you're meant to carry, and that's your job. But no, in Paris, I was the only one that spoke French. I was the one that had planned the routes, which meant in Charles de Gaulle Airport, when we had all been awake for 33 hours, I was the one that was pushing my older siblings and my older cousin through this airport. And I was the one having to go up to these strange and wonderful French people and trying to use this foreign language that I'd only studied in college. I'd never used it in its home place before, and try to make sense of it. And that's what I had to do for the next 5 days too. Try to make sense of this, try to sound like I knew what I was saying, even when I didn't quite know what I was saying. But I had to have that communication responsibility. And taking that responsibility, although it was kind of embarrassing sometimes, definitely scary at times, and got awkward more than once, it was really empowering. Because I learned that I'm kind of a kid now, sort of growing up. Age doesn't really matter. It's the ability to take initiative, decide you're going to do something, and then go for it, and do it the best you can, even if you make some embarrassing mistakes along the way. So Paris is pretty fabulous. I fell in love with the city. I fell in love with all the famous places, as well as some of the other places that we got to see throughout the course of our journey there. We also had a less than fabulous situation. So we arrived in Paris after spending 3 days in Rome. It's very, very late at night. I kind of forgot to print off a map of how to get from the train station to our hotel, so I had to go by memory of what I had seen on a Google Maps 5 days before, which meant that we were pulling our suitcases through kind of a sketchy area of town, but we eventually did find our hotel. We're exhausted, right? We just spent the morning in Rome, we're now in Paris. There's 4 adults in our group. We had booked as we thought, one room with 2 beds and another room with 2 beds. So imagine our surprise when we open one room and see a single bed. And we open the other room door and there is a single bed. Yes, we had done our reservation incorrectly. And so I spent 6 nights sharing this room with my sister, which meant that we took the mattress off the bed and put it on the floor here, and each of us spent 3 nights on the box spring, 3 nights on the mattress. So I had a bruise for, I think, 2 or 3 days after that, a bruise on my hip from that particular board on the box spring that didn't quite sit right. But I learned something else through that too. We were in the city of love, the city of lights, one of the most beautiful places in the world. Who cares if you're sleeping on a box spring, right? So I learned about making the best of it, going with what we had, spending a great day out in central Paris, coming back here and hearing the trains all night wasn't so bad. So what in the world does this have to do with you? Why should you care to hear about how I learned these things or how I maybe grew through this experience? Well, because the things that I learned kind of match up with some of the goals and some of the things that we hope to happen at Toastmasters. What's the connection between travel and public speaking? Both are exciting, but they're not always comfortable. A sense of humor really comes in handy when you're doing a table topics and you kind of go blank and forget where you are and don't really even know what to say next, but you have to fill out the rest of the time and suddenly you're rambling like this and you can't quite figure out where to go, and then all of a sudden you see the timer go on, but it's not quite where you need it to be yet. Sense of humor can kind of help you get through there. Also, taking initiative, even if you don't think you might be the best person at being grammarian, or, oh my goodness, giving an evaluation to somebody else who's a more advanced speaker than you. Step out there, at least give it a shot. See what you can learn through the process, because everyone can have the perspective to give somebody else some feedback. And having a positive attitude about mistakes or the flubs that happen. It happens, we all do that. So thank you all to everybody that came tonight, whether you're a guest, whether you're a member. I hope that everyone renews their Toastmasters membership or joins us tonight, and we'll have a great time traveling through public speaking together.